to the story. The time I accidentally got a job. This is the tale about how I got hired and promoted in a 2-hour period. So I'm a Kiwi, New Zealander, and was on my OE, overseas experience in London. I was wandering the street and this guy was struggling with a pallet of beer, trying to get into a music venue. So being the nice guy I am, I asked if he needed a hand. I don't know how far this guy had been hauling these beers, but it must have been a long way because he was sweating. So we get these beers into this empty venue and he asked me to help set up the bar, pointing out where he wants things set up. I think he just assumed I worked for him, but I'm 19 and hate confrontation, so I just say, yeah, sure. So I start putting the beers in the fridge and he says, I'm off to take a shower, keep up the good work. So, I've known all of you like 20 minutes and you're trusting me, unsupervised, with your bar/venue? Not what I signed up for when I offered to help you, but I have nothing planned, so screw it, I guess I work here now. So I keep setting up the bar for the show that night, and the bar staff start showing up. They must have been temps and been used to staff changes because they just assumed that I was the bar manager because I was the only person in the place. So they introduced themselves and asked what they can do. Luckily, I'd worked in a bar before, so I start delegating. All this time, the owner is nowhere to be seen, but I'm enjoying my new manager role and just bemused by the whole situation. Finally, an hour since he left, he comes back and something must have clicked while he was away because he came up to me and said, you're not one of my staff, are you? Now, mate, why did you help me? Because you looked like you needed a hand with the pallet of beer? We had a bit of laugh and he asked, do you like the specials? They're playing tonight and it's sold out, so stick around and enjoy. Oh, and turning to the actual bar staff, this guy drinks for free tonight. I love the specials and I love free beer. Well, started as a good story, turned into a great story. The second story. You don't work here, lady. Woman tries to use our store as her own Etsy shop. I worked in a large department store back before there was Etsy or any similar service for artists to open independent shops. I worked in the back office administration piece, not out on the floor. One day, one of the checkout girls called me over and said they were trying to scan a lady out, but one of her items didn't have a barcode. I figured maybe it had been stuck on somewhere strange, but checked it out and I didn't see anything. In fact, I didn't even recognize the item when I looked to see where I could find a second one to scan, and I knew the store pretty well. It was an absurdly hideous piece of almost homemade looking custom jewelry, not like anything we offered. I thought maybe we had a new supplier I was unaware of, so looked at the tag and lo and behold, it was a hand-drawn price tag, so definitely not ours. There were a lot of shops in the area, so I figured someone bought it nearby and slipped out of their bag or they set it down by accident and this customer assumed we were selling it because of the price tag. I figured whoever left it would be back to look for it soon. It was way overpriced, $80 for one necklace? So brought it to the customer service and returned to business as usual of counting the minutes to close and regretting all my life choices. But as the day marched on, a few more people appeared with similar stuff. Some more jewelry mostly. One with a sweater that was actually a sweater we did sell, but with huge garish rhinestones added on that were definitely not a SKU we offered. People kept coming to check out with lots of things we actually sold like makeup mirrors, handbags, and shoes, but all with unnecessary rhinestones, sequins, and beads glued on that definitely didn't come from us or the original manufacturer. So, finally, the manager just had a staff do a sweep of the store and collect anything with rhinestones on it or anything with a handmade price tag and put them in the lost and found. Though we did wonder how someone's personal belongings would become scattered all throughout the store and didn't think they could have really been accidentally lost. Our working theory was that someone got in a fight with her shopping companion and did it out of spite, like maybe a couple broke up or a sibling rivalry or something, but we resigned ourselves to the fact that we'd never know. Our lost and found was a single basket about the size of a TSA security bin at the airport. And there was so much of this stuff that it overflowed past the top. So after a couple of days, we dumped it all in the trash. A few days later, a middle-aged woman comes in decked out head to toe in sequins and glitter and rhinestone with neon makeup like a 6th grader would wear to their first school dance, and asked to speak to the person in charge, identifying herself as one of your partners. I knew we were about to get some answers to the other day's mystery. I stopped all my work. I was ready to hear how and why she ended up leaving half of her wardrobe scattered around, and why anyone would voluntarily dress like that after 40. So I listened to her going at it with customer service, and it became clear that she had bought things here. Like maybe unclear if she'd even paid for them or not, or she'd just used things from here without paying for them. She then bedazzled them, either by purchasing them or covertly bedazzling in the store without buying the items. We never did find out which. She then put them back on the shelves and now expected to collect a check after they were purchased at an upsell price that she'd added on with her handmade price tag. Apparently, she had done this in a few stores and was going around with business cards claiming her designs. Bedazzled versions of department store products were sold in big department stores like Karen's Fab Designs, as seen on the shelves of Macy's, Nordstrom's, JCPenney, and more. The manager explained that this was not a consignment store, and she couldn't just leave altered products here for people to buy and expects to split the money with us. She was sure that we must have not understand that she had improved the items with rhinestones, thereby making them more valuable, and was shocked when the realization set in that we understood what she was saying, but still didn't want her doing it. She was irate, offended, threatened to break off the partnership that we did not want and did not know we had, and eventually demanded the stuff back. The most senior manager on the floor had come over by this point, not because she'd asked to speak to the person in charge, but because she was causing a scene, and none of us were sure what to do about being on her business card. Plus, everyone, regardless of seniority, was equally curious about the rhinestones mystery. And he explained that we'd gotten rid of the stuff because she didn't bother to explain this arrangement to any of us, and we aren't just a pawn shop where you can just hawk personal goods. A major argument ensued. She gave us two choices. Go through the dumpsters and salvage the things you threw out, or refund me the adjusted rate of charge cost of the items you threw out. The manager then gave her two choices: leave or be escorted out by security. The manager did worry that there could be repercussions for throwing out all of her stuff, since technically corporate policy was that we were supposed to hang on lost and found items for 7 business days. So he offered her some coupons to end things on a good note. She didn't take them and scream at us that we needed to replace everything and pay for new material to re-bedazzle them. At that point, the manager more flatly insisted she leave. She didn't. Security had to escort her out. To our total shock, she kept telling security she worked here and really confused them because they'd never seen her. So weren't sure if it was because she was crazy or if it was because she was from corporate. In other words, someone who could fire them. We had to explain to security and her that in fact she did not work here and this quote-unquote partnership was non-existent. Again, explaining that she couldn't sell her own products here in our department store. She kept saying, "We can negotiate you a higher cut. That was just my starting offer." So after a bit, the manager just gave up on explaining and stopped engaging with her. She tried to come in every day for a week after that, to the point that we had a security guard stand right near the door to redirect her before she could even step over the threshold. She got in one more time through the fire door, with which she set an alarm off, and we had to evacuate the store. So we let her know loud and clear that the next time the police would be handling her. I guess some other stores had already made good on that promise, so she stopped coming. But she kept doing this elsewhere around town for several weeks until she was blacklisted by every store from the highest end boutiques to dollar store. I don't know if she didn't understand how stores worked or just didn't care, but she really created a lot of extra work for us. I'll say this, many people were coming to register to purchase her items, and that department chain is bankrupt now, so she probably has lucrative Etsy type store and the last laugh. Well, I feel like we need a new sub, like r/you don't work here, lady. To the third story, crazy lady at department store tries to chase me. A little backstory. I used to live in Wisconsin, where snow can create slipping hazards in certain department stores. So, one Sunday night, I'm headed home from church and I decide to stop by Walmart to pick up a large storage bin. Was getting ready to move, so wanted to be prepared. Anyway, I make my way over to the storage bin aisle, trying to find the largest bin they had, when all of a sudden, this rather large lady, let's call her LL, huffs up, snaps me her fingers, saying I need to follow her and help her lift. Insert whatever item she couldn't lift. Me, oh, I'm sorry, I don't even work here. Large lady, huffing and puffing. Well, obviously you work here because you're wearing a tie. I had a button-up shirt, tie, and khakis on because I had just gotten out of church. For some reason, tie equals to I work at Walmart? Me, nope, sorry, just got out of church, which is why I'm dressed up. Which I thought sounded pretty reasonable. And lo and behold, I just opened up the gates of hell, was about to grace me with his presence. Lurch lady, I don't give a duck where you came from. All I want from you is to lift my darn, whatever item she needed, into my darn car. Now get your butt over here before I can get your manager and have your butt fired. I'm a pretty laid-back guy, and at this point, I snapped back at her. Me, tramp, I do not work here. Now leave me the hell alone and let me find my bin in peace. At this point, I grabbed the largest bin I saw, not heavy but rather awkward to carry, and head to the checkout line when I see large lady following behind me, still yelling obscenities, and saying she's gonna have my butt fired. I'm a good 20 to 25 feet away from her, but she picks up speed and narrows the gap. She's honing in on me like a cheetah, about to take down its prey. I was honestly concerned at what she'd do if she caught up to me. By now, we have already gained a few prying eyes, wondering what the hell all the commotion is about, and I'm looking around for an actual manager or employee to help me. At this point, I'm about ready to drop my storage bin and make a run for the exit when all of a sudden, a miracle happened. Remember how I said it snows a lot where I am from and creates slipping hazards? Well, Lurch Lady was going a little too fast and slipped on a puddle, and she fell hard. I guarantee the impact would have registered on the Richter scale. The sound that escaped her lips when she hit the ground was a cross between a moose below and a humpback whale mating call. The sound still haunts my dreams occasionally. So, I'm not totally heartless, but I slowly walk up to her, but still keeping my distance since she was ready to rip my head off 10 seconds ago. Me, are you alright? Do you want me to help you? I looked into her eyes, and all I saw was pure evil. Satan himself would have shuddered at the glare I received. Lurch lady, get that duck away from me, you piece of crap! You shoved me! Screaming and crying at the tops of her lungs, several other people had gathered and finally several employees. She eventually gets up. She's still crying and says that she's gonna sue me for pushing her. Luckily for me, several other customers solved the whole debacle and says she slipped on a puddle, plus there were several caution, wet floor signs. A manager comes over and speaks with me and Lurch lady. Lurch Lady says that she's gonna sue the store for having wet floors and that she wants me fired for ignoring the customer and making her run on wet floor in the first place. Cue to me still holding my Lurch bin. Manager, he doesn't work here? Also, we have wet floor signs posted. Me, I just want to buy my bin and get out of here. This lady has been a pain to me. Lurch Lady, blubbering and obviously embarrassed. Well, someone better help me then. Some employee helps her and manager apologizes to me. I go and buy my bin and leave. TLDR, crazy lady thinks I work at department store, chases me down, slips and falls and tries to blame me for it. Honestly, I sometimes don't even understand how people like this operate on a daily basis. To the final story. Lady left a bruise. So I finally had an I don't work here lady moment this past weekend. I was out to eat at a cafe in a rather nice botanical garden with my parents, my brother, his fiancé for my brother's birthday. This restaurant/cafe was kind of a confusing setup, where they seat you and give you a menu, but then you go up to this counter type thing, tell them what you want off the menu, pay, and then take your food back to your seat. You also self-bus, and they have bins to push dishes in and a cart to put the menus back on. After my family got all of our food and stuff settled, I grabbed all of our menus to take them and put them on the cart. As I was walking through tables, an older lady stops me and politely asks me if I could take their table's menus and holds out a stack to me. I tell her, I don't work here, but I don't mind taking your menus. I now have a hefty stack of menus, 10 I think. I wasn't quite struggling, but I wouldn't have been able to hold anymore even if I wanted to. Their menus are styles and each is on its own clipboard. I begin walking toward the menu cart again. The next table I pass, this grumpy old woman snaps her fingers at me. I stop, mostly because I'm taken by surprise and mildly insulted that anyone thinks it's okay to snap their fingers at anyone, even if I was a waitstaff. As soon as I stop, she grabs a stack of menus from her table and shoves them at me with very surprising force for a woman of her age and size. They hit my arm very hard, causing the other menus to cascade out of my hands. Everyone in earshot, which is pretty much everyone since it's a small cafe, turns to look at me. I start to blush and hurriedly start picking up the menus that I dropped, and meanwhile, this lady is just loudly clearing her throat and still brandishing her menus at me. I'm very shy, and I hate the feeling of having eyes on me. So my brain is in panic mode, and I don't really know what to do. Luckily, at that moment, my dad, who saw everything, comes over to intervene. I just finished picking up the menus and straighten up to see my dad fuming standing next to me. Now, my dad is 6'3" and about 250 pounds. He is 60 and a generally gentle giant, but he can still look extremely threatening when he's pissed. He politely asked the lady if there is a problem. Obviously mistaking him for some sort of manager, she says, "No, everything is fine. You just have some very clumsy waitstaff." She gives me a smug look when once again thrusts her stack of menus at me. My dad changes his tone of voice to be much quieter and slightly more threatening. "That is not a waiter. That is my daughter that you just physically assaulted." I don't think I've ever seen someone change their demeanor so quickly in my life. Her smug smile melts, and she starts blustering out an apology. But my dad turns to me and says, "Let's go sit down and finish the rest of our delightful lunch very far away from this old crow." I dump our menus into the cart and on my way back to the tables, and I overheard the old tramp getting tons of flack from her friends. "Why do you always have to be so rude? You embarrass us everywhere we go," etc. One of them reaches out to apologize as I pass. I nod and I just keep walking. I will never understand why people think it's okay to touch strangers without their consent like ever. I have a small bruise on my arm from the incident. Well, I guess the best part is that her friends calling her out at the end, though it would have been better if they had spoken up at the beginning. That's it for today, fellow humans. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time.